Okay. So later, we're different heights, Heidi. Okay, so later after your surgery, what we expect is the character of your bowel movements is going to change. Okay, right now, when we eat food, we digest it and absorb it. And in fact, that system, although we don't think about it very much, is pretty miraculous. We take a chicken leg and we turn it into your eye. Oh, that's magic, you know? I can pull a rabbit out of my hat, but turn a chicken bone into your brain. Turn a chicken into your heart. That's quite a magical occurrence. And what happens first is the food comes in, it gets broken down to its individual parts, like a bunch of little Lego parts, and then gets absorbed, and then it gets reassembled once it's absorbed. Now, it turns out that you and I can absorb some things with no work at all. Water. We don't need any work at all to absorb water. We're water. Water goes in, absorbed right away, no problem. Salt. Sodium, no problem digesting and absorbing sodium. It's a small molecule, easily digested and absorbed. Some simple sugars are easily absorbed, some are not. So lactose, no. Glucose, yes. Now when you get to fats, oil and water don't mix. Oil and water don't mix. So what that means is we cannot get fat to be absorbed from the gut without some kind of pretty amazing digestive work by our gut. And what it does is a lot like the Dawn dishwashing liquid commercial. You may remember the spaghetti plate coming into the sink and little bubbles of grease appearing on the top, and all of a sudden the blue bottle of Dawn dishwashing liquid squirts in, and when that detergent hits the greasy bubbles of fat in the water, the bubbles of fat disappear because the Dawn dishwashing liquid acts as detergent. And it solubilizes the fat, and you and I are fitted with that same system. We have our own bottle of detergent sitting right underneath the liver. It's called the gallbladder, and it's filled with detergent called green bile. And that bile, along with pancreatic enzymes, is critical for digesting fat, and we mess that up when we bypass your upper gut with the MGB. So that means that in the future, if you eat anything greasy or things like that, you won't be able to digest it very well. You still can digest some fat, but much less. So if we were to measure your cholesterol, measure your triglycerides, measure your blood pressure, we're going to find all those things improving and decreasing tremendously, improving your overall health because of that bypass. But also, you know that there are little guidelines. You know, you don't pull on Superman's cape, you don't spit in the wind, and you don't go against the MGB. So if you eat a whole bunch of greasy food, you're going to get a surprise from below. Because that grease, by contract with you and me, won't go on your hips. I will block it. The MGB will be there forever, and it will let you have a bite of cheesecake, for example. It will let you have a bite of a hamburger, for example. But if you say, I'm going to eat a whole cheesy bean burrito, that ain't going to go. It'll go down here if you eat slowly, but it won't get on your hips, and so it'll stay in you. And it'll come out the other end, stinky gas and grease and all kinds of stuff. You with a big surprise and a boom sometimes. So, after surgery, our contract is, if you want to have a bite of cheesecake at the end of the meal, like your mom said, you can have a cookie. Maybe half a cookie? Kita, how much can you have? How much dessert can you have?
As much as I want.
Yeah, okay.
But,
how much do you want? Would you eat like 2 pieces of cheesecake for dessert? No. A full cheesecake piece or half?
Half.
Maybe a bite?
Maybe a bite.
Okay, well, what do you like? You know, Dr. Rullish, I don't eat any cheesecake. That surgery is working great. Of course, I don't like cheesecake. What do you like for dessert? Do you like dessert?
Oh, like a little cup of like a Coke float or something, like a little
Yeah.
spoonful of ice cream with a little.
Yep, yeah. And you keep saying little and your hands are like this, right? So, but a big milkshake?
I mean,
No.
and it wouldn't be ew, and I don't have too much of the other end problems anymore, but I just don't want it.
But you just don't want it, right? So that's going to happen. But if you were to let's suppose you're in a
6 months ago.
yeah, if you were in a prison camp and they forced you to have a whole milkshake, you would have trouble. Yes.
Dr. Rutledge, I just want to tell the pre-ops in here that one thing, when they're talking about you can only have part of a cookie, I'm 5.5 months out, I have not had to deprive myself once. It's not like a diet where you have to say, oh my gosh, I'm not allowed to have that. You either don't desire it, or it doesn't feel good on your belly and you just don't want any more. It's nothing like the deprivation diets at all.
Right.
It's just, it becomes a lifestyle.
Is that because the leptin is?
I don't think it has anything to do with leptin. Leptin's a really interesting chemical involved in our weight. It has to do with ghrelin and peptide YY.
So is that why she says, I don't desire a cookie?
The desire, we think, in other words, if we take ghrelin injected into all of us right now, we'd all be hungry.
So it's the ghrelin.
It's ghrelin that makes you hungry. Now the flip side though is, if you have a bite of a cookie now,
Yes.
you'll find, correct me if I'm wrong, very quickly after you eat, you'll feel pretty full and satisfied.
Oh, yes.
Okay, that is peptide YY.
Okay.
Before you came in, we were talking about having an accelerator and brakes. And this is probably even more simplistic than the actual God-given system that actually runs us. It's probably much more complex. There's probably 2 or 3 kinds of brakes and 2 or 3 kinds of accelerators. But for our purposes today, there's an accelerator that makes us hungry. That's ghrelin, and when we cut the stomach and the vagus nerve, we've got a bunch of post-op patients here. So, hungry?
I'm the least bit.
Now, I had to pay him to say that, but no. But I mean, in other words, not as hungry as pre-op.
I'm a different case. I ate very little pre-op in trying to control my weight, but my weight just kept elevating. I actually eat far more, or at least I feel like I eat far more now, because I'm eating more often.
Okay.
A lot more often, but I probably don't.
So you think you're eating, if we added up your total day's food, you're eating more now than before?
I believe so, but the difference is now I'm craving chicken and healthy food, a strawberry, you know what I'm saying? Where before, all day long I'd eat a whole cake. Maybe not a whole cake, but you know,
Yeah.
I'd be eating junk. And so maybe not a meal, but just junk. And so I actually eat quite a bit.
I'm a VSG revision person that, and I'm constantly hungry.
Right.
So when they did my stomach,
They didn't
What
get the
happened?
Vegas. They didn't get the Vegas.
They missed it?
So can we, is it okay to tell everybody that?
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
so we have an ex-lap band patient here, and she is an ex-sleeve patient. She's had a sleeve in Mexico, right?
yep,
And so,
Alvarez.
right, and so the sleeve, and did you lose any weight?
I lost about 20 pounds.
Okay, so sleeve, remember, because we like the sleeve because it's half of an MGB. But we have found, like you, that the sleeve by itself is inadequate. And when you just cut the stomach and don't cut the vagus nerve, you don't get that same impact on the ghrelin. Plus, the other thing is you don't get the change in the peptide YY. That's the brakes.
Right.
So you're
I'm
missing.
constantly hungry.
Yeah,
Constantly.
right. That, if you're like, so we got some other, okay, so MGB patients constantly, well, you can still be hungry. You're still hungry? You want to say hi from Canada?
Hello.
Hello.
Edward from Canada. I guess I had my surgery in January '07. I'm down about 170 pounds. About 7 feet, give or take, I think it was, somewhere
think so.
thereabouts. And I'm just normal now. Like I eat 3 kind of square meals a day, and I make sure that I interact with the right foods. And I wouldn't say that I'm ravenous. I mean, when I exercise, I'm hungry just like everybody else because the body needs to replenish. But I don't go around like a maniac like I did
Well, one of the
before.
things, if I heard our sleeve patients say, is that She has lots of hunger now. Did you have lots of hunger before your MGB?
I did. I
Yeah.
mean, I think, whether it's psychological hunger or whatever it is, right?
Yeah, could I
was
say it this way?
was
Before
constantly-
surgery, your thermostat was turned up high. And the MGB, we want to turn your thermostat down. We don't want to turn it off, because can you still enjoy a nice dinner out?
Yeah, for sure. Like
Because we
you're
don't want
saying,
to turn you into an ascetic, where you can't eat or can't enjoy your meal. We want to just turn it down. We want to say, enjoy life, but a little easy on the food. So,
Yeah.
is that Heidi? Would you say? How would you say? Can you eat now?
Like, yeah, I eat, but not like I used to.
Yeah. Can you enjoy a meal?
I can enjoy, but I tend to like always want, like I look at a pizza and I'm like, ooh, like I'm scared to eat it. But like, like if I see like a really good salad, I can put down a good salad. Yeah.
Yep.
I think I'm just, I'm pickier now. Like,
Yep.
if I'm gonna eat, I want something that tastes
Yep.
good. I don't wanna just eat something.
Well, a lot of people say since they know they can only eat a little bit, they don't want to waste it on kind of, they really want to go for a tastier or a slightly better quality of steak because they know they can't eat the big porterhouse, so they get a fillet, or is that?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it's an amazing perceptual shift. I mean, you just can't imagine really, because I couldn't, what it was going to be like, okay?
Yeah, now did we have, excuse me for interrupting, but didn't we have like a talk about that pre-op where you expressed some concerns about, or maybe I'm not remembering.
I don't think so. I
Okay.
actually see a lot of people.
Yeah, that could
And I'm a 3-year alumnus, so I don't.
could be, yeah, I'm sorry.
But, I mean, my birthday was a couple months ago, and some people took me out to Ruth Chris. Okay, it's terrific, okay, but I got my meal and dinner the next day, and
still
lunch the
had your
next
meal.
day after that. Okay?
This has been a great birthday.
We spread it out over 3 days, and I can even indulge what was my worst pre-op habit, which is I like to go to fast food restaurants for breakfast with a newspaper. I'm a news junkie, and I still do that. But now, if I can get half the Egg McMuffin down or something like that, that's more than I want. Okay.
Now, do you feel deprived though when you can't eat that? I mean, is that unpleasant that you miss out on the Egg
Not at all. I
McMuffin?
mean, it's just.
You still feel satisfied with that smaller amount of Egg McMuffin?
Yeah, I'm going to eat it a little bit more slowly, but yeah, it's terrific.
Yes,
Okay.
everybody, is that true? Everybody got to eat slow, right? Yeah, let me tell you, those of you who's the new surgery for this week? Okay, listen up, as they say when the drill sergeant talks to you, listen up. One of the key things we hear over and over again is you can have things, but you have to slow down. You can have things, but you have to slow down. You'll almost always get in trouble, no matter what you're eating, if you eat fast. So there's a real tip or pointer there is just to slow down.
Well, I physically can't do it.
Well, you can, but then you're going to be punished.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But you learn to order things in restaurants that will lend themselves to dog beds. Okay, okay.
See, I can eat totally fast. I have no restriction. It's like I had nothing done.
Well, the sleeve, that's why,
You do.
well, we have about 300 sleeve patients that we've done, and we get a little bit of weight loss with it, but you have to, a lot of people are now saying the sleeve is the best choice. My bias is that it's not, and that we see what you're seeing, which is that the sleeve gives you a little bit of something for a short time,
Yeah.
and then,
20 pounds.
yeah, and for our patients who average 300, 20 pounds is not going to be very satisfying. Okay, yes?
Why is it so easy to eat roughage with this operation? Everybody always says to me, you're not supposed to eat that, and it doesn't bother me at all.
I don't know, but talk about a perfect operation. I mean, heavy, greasy, junky foods like a sloppy Joe or a greasy hamburger or things like that are tough for my patients to eat. Very sweet, sugary foods are tough for my patients to eat. But an apple, no problem. Broccoli, no problem. A salad, that's the foundation of our patients' diets in general. And so that's why we like the MGB. I mean, I have done the other kinds of surgery, decades ago, and patients don't do well with those types of surgery. And the nice thing, the reason I'm so committed to the MGB is I just see this almost perfect result. I mean, certainly not perfect. I'm not saying that. But you know, it takes people's illnesses like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, sleep apnea, diabetes, osteoarthritis, and it makes those things better. It gives you an enjoyable life so that you can kind of eat what you want, you can go out, but you choose, and we heard Keita say picky, she can be pickier, where you eat and you are picky about eating kind of generally healthier foods. So I don't know if I can explain the roughage part, but I just kind of bask in that because I think it's the ideal food that we all ought to be eating.
Also, you desire healthy foods like you didn't before, and I think it has something to do with receiving a little bit less nutrition. So you really crave those healthy foods.
Yeah, yeah. Do you want to say hi to everybody and give us your update?
Yeah, I'm 5.5 months, 62 pounds, and it's great. My scars are
Not too bad,
clearing
yes.
up, and I'm doing really great. The one thing that I'm battling with that I think is unusual is I'm very, very tired.
Okay, what that is not enough salt.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
We see that all the time, all the time. And think of the obesity that you had before. How many people who had obesity have swollen ankles?
Yes.
That's the body with the abnormality of excess salt and water. The body has a set of hormones that control your fluid intake, just like it controls food and breathing and things like that. And those hormones in a heavy person are out of whack. And the surgery takes and drives them in the opposite direction with what we call a massive diuresis. Massive diuresis is medical terminology for pee your brains out. So the kidneys release all this water, and that, of course, is why a lot of the weight loss occurs. It's all this fluid coming out. But in fact, the MGB is so powerful that unless you constantly keep up, you're going to actually find you'll be dehydrated and weak and tired, and your recovery is not going to be nearly as fun, as enjoyable as it should be. So for example, what time did you get up this morning, can I ask?
Yeah, about 7.
And what did you have when you woke up?
I actually had a protein drink.
Okay. And what do you put in the protein drink?
Well, this was a prepackaged, so I
Some-
didn't put anything in it, but
Okay.
I use Undri usually.
Okay. And that was about what time?
About 7:30.
And what do you normally eat after that? When do you normally eat? When you're at home, or
Yeah,
what's the usual day like for you? Are you at home or work? Or?
I work out of my home, so
Okay.
yeah, I eat protein in the morning, and then
What time would be your next little snack?
probably within a couple hours.
Good. What would you
In a
have?
couple hours, and I would maybe have a bowl of fruit, strawberries or
Good.
berries, and then by lunchtime I'm really ready for some more protein, and I'll have chicken. I'm in a current battle with rotisserie chicken, whether it's going to win or me, because I can't keep it down.
Do you
but,
do you salt it?
I do salt a lot of things, but I think I've slacked off on the salt some.
Yeah. In other words, and the other thing is, you can when you get that feeling of tiredness, you need a quart of Gatorade. You're a quart low.
Okay.
Now you could do it more meticulously than this, but a simple thing to do is just sit down and take about 5 minutes, then stand up. And
Okay.
if you stand up and you say, hey, let's go shopping, let's go to the movies, you're okay. But if you stand up and you go, I'm beat, and I don't want to get up, and I'm tired, then you're a quart low.
Okay.
That means you're a quart low, and you need to drink a Gatorade or have a cup of soup or something like that.
This is not what I do.
Yes?
Yeah. I carry my little salt packages, and then
Yeah.
when I feel it, I'm like,
It is a,
but
Yeah,
It's such a big
so here's the story. Listen to this story. So you're someplace and all of a sudden you're kind of woozy or tired or feel like you're a little shaky. And she keeps, as an emergency, you shouldn't do this every single day, those salt packets from the fast food restaurant. Just tears that open and licks the salt.
That happened to me in Target yesterday. I actually sat down on one of the little low shelves and just sat there for a while.
But what you needed is to have some salt or Gatorade or something with you so that you could take care of that, especially in your first 6 months, first year, as your body adapts to this new massive diuresis.
Okay.
You heard of fluid pills like Lasix and things like that? This is Lasix. We take over. People come to us on Lasix and fluid pills, and we take them off of that because we wring them out like a wet sponge. In other words, you've lost 62 pounds?
Yes.
62? Now, do you make turkey dinner for Thanksgiving? Ever?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, have you made a turkey?
Yeah.
Okay, and how big was the big turkey? Can you remember making
Oh,
it?
yeah, the biggest was probably 21.
20 pounds. Okay,
Yeah.
so now you imagine 3 of those turkeys right now.
Yeah.
Now just hand them to me. You just lost 3 big 20-pound turkeys, right?
Yes. Or big 20-pound dog food bags.
Exactly. Okay. Now a lot of that is water. And you're dehydrated and you won't have the energy to enjoy your life without kind of keeping up on that fluid.
So back to the Gatorade.
You don't have to, but if you're tired and sitting down in Target, you could be more meticulous. You could measure your blood pressure and your pulse. Your blood pressure is going to be low. So you could buy a wrist blood pressure cuff and check it. But if you're sitting down at Target, like I had a patient who bent over at Home Depot and couldn't stand up and just went down to the floor and just took a few minutes so he could get up. And he called me. I said, "You're not taking enough salt." And he said, "Oh, I'm taking tons of salt." I said, "Well, I don't care. It's just not enough." And that's just, the surgery is so powerful that you lose all that fluid.
And just to clarify, Dr. Rutledge, okay, because I'm sleeping far more hours at night too, so that's all.
You're dehydrated.
Okay.
You're dehydrated. You don't have energy because there's no gas in your tank.
Okay.
You can't run the engine without gas. Are you surprised if the car stops and there's no gas?
No.
Okay. You can't run your body without water.
Is there another way to do that without the Gatorade? I hate.
Everything you're describing is Cynthia. Every
Yeah,
single
yeah.
word.
Yeah, you can
I had my surgery last April, well, a year ago.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
With your friends. And I've lost 145 pounds. But I hate Gatorade. I
Yeah.
hate it. I've never liked it. But all of those things, and I didn't realize it was my salt.
It's all salt, yeah. Now, salt's in a lot of things in America. So there's V8, there's chicken noodle soup, all kinds of things. Here's the other thing, though. You know, and people, this is interesting to me, and I'll tell you a funny story. I'm going to have this as a separate video because this is so funny to me. It may not be that